This is Screendivers. In this week's episode, we are talking about 1951, directed by Billy Wilder, Ace in the Hole. This movie is written by Billy Wilder, story by Victor Desney, produced by Billy Wilder, and starring Kirk Douglas, Jan Sterling, Robert Arthur, Porter Hall, and many other character actors. Cinematography by Charles Lang, edited by Twan Harrison and Arthur P. Schmidt. Music by Hugo Friedhofer. This movie has a running time of 111 minutes. It was made for an alleged budget of $1.8 million and it raked $1.3 million at the box office. How are you guys?
I am excellent. How are you, sir?
I'm alright, man, but I'm even better because in today's episode we have a very special guest. Welcome, George Healy, Mr. Horrorweekly himself!
Hello, gentlemen. I'm honored to be back.
It's an honor to have you back. Who picked this movie this week?
I chose this movie this week. I know that it's not how it usually goes on your podcast, but
Thank you. Thank you so much for, again, another gift to this podcast. If it wasn't for this choice this week, Umba and myself would have not gone down the Billy Wilder sinkhole that we have been in for the past couple of days.
Yes, the Billy Wilder mine. We've been trapped there for the past 7 days, 6 days, whatever the fuck it was.
I can't wait to hear about all of it.
Yeah, there was a crowd outside as well. Vendors and a crowd. And
Hey, spoilers.
No, okay. Before we continue, a quintessential question must be asked. Ricky, what is this movie about?
Chuck Tatum is a reporter. He's not just any reporter. He's worked for the highs and lows of the industry. But now he's down on his luck, and almost every known paper has kicked him out. He now works in Albuquerque, and for the past year, he's been sat around waiting for the story. Instead of getting the story, he gets sent out to another opinion piece, another hey-ho, holiday hoedown piece. And so as he's traveling out into the desert, he stops off in a local place to find out that there's a local story just waiting for him to exploit. This is Ace in the Hole. I might kill this whole conversation completely, but I don't know. But my main theme, or my main thing from this film, is that everybody is trying to escape.
Oh,
wait, say more.
Whoa, before he says more.
Okay. What is your experience with this film?
This is the first time I've seen this film.
Yep, likewise. You told us to watch this movie and we watched this movie.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
It's funny because I am a Billy Wilder fan. Like, I love The Apartment, Some Like It Hot. Sunset Boulevard is in my top 10, 20, whatever. I hadn't seen this, and I was so, especially because in the UK, there isn't officially a distributor for this film, but I know in America, Criterion have the film. But definitely in Australia, I've never seen it on the shelves. It's not even there's a Billy Wilder collection coming out in a couple of weeks on Imprint Films, and it does not include this.
I'm wondering if the movie is actually beginning to fall under public domain, because you can go to our listeners. In fact, you can watch this free on Plex. So if you type in where to stream Ace in the Hole, and I think it's a global thing that you can do, you can just watch it in Plex. No, not in Australia. Or you
not
can
in Australia.
The UK. Okay, yeah. Maybe in the US you can as well. I'm not sure, but you could in the UK, or at least in parts of Europe. So
it's so interesting though, because this one is by a super famous director, but in my experience, it's always the best movie I can recommend that the odds are good someone hasn't seen. And I'm sure part of it is that it failed financially, and it probably really hurt Billy Wilder's feelings that's how that went down, right? And I think it actually scared him a little bit because he had just gotten rid of his longtime writing collaborator before he made this movie, and then to have it fail, it was his first commercial failure, right? But for whatever reason, this movie isn't well known or well seen, even though the director's really famous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just glad that you guys hadn't seen it, because that makes this pretty special for me.
I'm longing for the moment we actually discuss why it tanked, because it's very meta, the reason why it tanked. I think, the powers that be really got a little touchy about it.
Sure.
About it all. Yeah.
Okay. So, and if you haven't seen this movie, watch it with no spoilers and then listen to this episode, because this is one of those movies where it's even when we're not spoiling plot things, spoiling tone things are kind of spoilers for this one. You should go in cold, because this movie is going to go places that I certainly didn't expect when I first watched it. And it's kind of like a carnival ride in that way. And you're not going to get that if you have it spoiled for you. So go watch it and come back.
Mind in San Jose. LA is a great big freeway. Put 100 down and buy a car. In a week, maybe two, they'll make you a star. Weeks turn into years, how quick they pass. And all the stars that never were are parking cars and pumping gas. You can really breathe in San Jose. They've got a lot of space.
Right, so in that spoiler, you talked about carnival rides. This film, seriously, like, there is so much about, like, I already said earlier that everybody's trying to escape in this film. That is truly one of the themes that seems to be running through everything. It being a small town in the middle of the desert, there's not a single person who wants to grow up there. People are always looking for the next thing to move on to. Chuck Tatum's looking for the next thing to move on to. And they have this very literal bubble of finance, of lots of different things happening. And then all of a sudden it all dissipates, and again, they're back to escaping. And of course, in the center, we have Leo. And Leo is physically, of course, trying to escape. This film there's so many levels to this film, but yes, I think it's just about escapism.
Can I agree with you? We're going to argue about something else later. Like I said in the previous episode, I long for an instance in which our friendship is on the verge of destroying itself or imploding. So hopefully that happens today as well, but it won't be on this. On this, I agree with you. And the reason why I agree with you, it's because, we mentioned earlier that George sent us on a mission to revisit. This is one of the Billy Wilders that I missed. But I had to rewatch a few classics simply because, and they happen to be movies that I have seen before and appreciated before, but not as much as this viewing. Because obviously this viewing had a critical eye, I had the critical monocle on, right? But yesterday, in one day, I rewatched Sunset Boulevard, I rewatched Ace in the Hole, and then I rewatched Stalag 17. Now, funnily enough, you were mentioning that the concept that our protagonist, or most of the characters in this movie are trying to constantly escape. And guess what? Sunset Boulevard was made in 1950 or 51,
50,
I think.
Yep, 1950.
This is 51, and Stalag 17 is 53. Back to back, these are the three movies that is made back to back. And in all three movies, that is the central theme, escaping.
100%.
What the fuck is Billy Wilder running from?
100%.
Well, if you think,
100%.
if you think about what Hollywood was going through,
Yeah.
Not only did you have the Depression era that people were coming out of or going, or still in the middle of, especially Middle America. Also, the McCarthy era.
Mm-hmm.
The McCarthy era. And so Billy Wilder, also being from an immigrant background, is also under the firing line from the McCarthyism. So there is a lot of it's funny you also said about escapism across those three movies. I didn't remember how satirical and how cynical every single character is in both Sunset Boulevard and this was my first viewing of this, but I've watched it now twice in like 2 or 3 days. Just how cynical everybody is. You expect it from... and again, this is like from a modern film watcher. You expect it more from like the 90s or the noughties of people being so satirical and hating on the world, maybe even the 70s. But back in the 50s, having these sort of satirical conversations between characters, it was amazing to take on.
It was ahead of its time. That's why this work still stands the test of time. But there's a certain amount of self-floating. There's a dislikable quality to his characters. All of them. Like if you watch these three movies, these so-called protagonists are not likable. The moment they barge onto the screen, I mean, for me at least, in Sunset Boulevard, I saw, what's his name? William Oldham's character as extremely dislikable from the beginning. I started empathizing with Norma.
For sure.
Like
For
hard.
sure.
Hard, dude.
If you throw in Double Indemnity, right? Like to center a movie around two characters as unsympathetic and unlikable as Kirk Douglas and Jan Sterling here is not only remarkable on Billy Wilder's part, but super brave for the actors to do.
In Ace in the Hole, he shits on everybody. He even shits on the purity of Herbie fan, until the end of the movie. Because he goes along for the perdition. All of a sudden, he's the voice of reason. By the way, we're going to pick this up. There's one thing, guys, that I need to get off my chest right away. And tell me if I'm reaching, please. On the second viewing, today, which it almost bothered me to the point of, self-criticism. Because how did I miss this? It happens twice in the movie. So in Ace in the Hole, when they are on their way to the snake hunt, they're on their way to Los Barrios. And then at the beginning of the journey, as soon as they hit the desert, they stop for fuel. When they stop for fuel, they meet this family, the Minosa family, right? That runs this petrol station or gas station or whatever you want to call it. There is no one behind the counter, and Herbie, fan, who's gone in to pay, notices the door slightly ajar. So he goes behind the counter reluctantly because he's a very polite kid. Right? He reminded me of Jimmy Olsen. That's the type of figure that he
For
is,
sure.
right? And in fact, if there was a Superman movie made around that time, he would have been perfect to play Jimmy. Absolutely perfect. And it works for a newspaper as well. It's a photographer. That's Jimmy Olsen. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's where Billy Wilder got the idea because it's the same character. But anyway, he goes in and he sees a woman praying, not to one candle, to 2 candles. And I did not notice this. You see this again. There's a callback later on when our protagonist Tatum is in the back of the diner, whatever, in this little hotel room where he's writing, and it's right before he takes a drink. He picks up 2 candles and puts 2 candles on this mantle, because that area, that place where that lady is praying, is where he ends up. He ends up in that room, by the way. That's another thing that I didn't notice. So the Madonna and all of that, the little altar with the...
Yes.
But when you pray, in Catholicism, in Christianity in general, when you pray to the dead or one person that you think is going to die, it's 1 candle. But here there are 2. And this happens at the beginning of the movie. And my theory now is that's the message. She's praying not only for Leo Minosa, but she's praying for our protagonist, because he's about to lose himself just before he dies. And then that's the thing, and I think that's the foreshadowing in this movie, because when Herb comes out and he goes back to the car, Chuck Tatum, let's call him Charles, whatever, Chuck Tatum, turns around to Herb and he goes, what's going on in there? It's like, oh, there's a lady praying. She was praying pretty hard. And he goes, I wonder what she was praying about.
Yeah.
Am I wrong here? I think, am I reaching?
Well, no, that is one interpretation, but I am wondering if she's actually done the other candle for Lorraine, because she knows that their relationship, their marriage is pretty much a sham. That they are, so she's like done the candle for Leo, but then she's also probably like, and I know Lorraine will have any opportunity, and she does, any opportunity to leave. She's like been almost, and I think Lorraine says it later on that like, this isn't the first time I've tried to leave him, when she's waiting for the bus. By the way, that scene where Lorraine and Tatum are having a conversation just before the bus arrives, before she splits, and he says something along the lines of, there's 3 of us buried here, Leo, me, and you. The disdain that Tatum has for Lorraine for even considering it right now, even though he's like, I wish I could go with you as well. But
no, he treats it like the movie goes out of its way to not portray Lorraine in a positive light, so that he kind of almost gets agency of doing this, but it's brutal. There's a moment in which they're having a confrontation, and he goes, you're wearing the mink, or whatever this thing is. And then that's when I thought, oh my God, I have to go and check. Because he grabs it, there's this shot of him grabbing it by the hair, like a brute. And I thought, I need to check. Was Kirk Douglas up for the role of Max Cady? Because he would have played a good Max Cady. He would have, sure. in Cape Fear.
Sure.
In here, sure. There's some traits he shows. Like, he goes from dislikable to being a brute to being, he's the poster boy for no scruples. This guy has no fucking scruples, to the point in which his journey, he gets lost within it. You know, he tells the story of the Pulitzer Prize or whatever, what he aspires to be, but then it just gets lost in this, and you see that he's lost direction. Like, it's just got, whatever this is, it just needs to continue. Yeah. It doesn't matter where it's going. It just needs to continue.
But I want to go back to the hair pulling thing, because I think I need some.
We're jumping all over the place, by the way. Yeah.
But going back to that conversation, like some of the other lines he says, they're amazing. It's like, you saw those people. To you, they're a couple of squares. To me, they're just the beginning. And he's just talking about money, and he's just talking about revenue, and he's like hooked her. She's about to leave. She's about to exit out of the situation and never been seen again. She doesn't care about Leo. She barely cares about Tatum at that point. But he hooks her in by being like, you will see so much money, and so if you leave now, you will have no idea what you're missing out on. And it's almost like, you know, the snake in the Garden of Eden, like, just follow this, and she pays the ultimate price. She almost wants to she wants to fall in love with Tatum. And Tatum's not having any of it, because he doesn't care about humanity, really.
A couple things real quick. Just so, first of all, the shot when she's about to leave and the bus comes by.
Oh, it's great.
And then the bus pulls away and reveals her walking back in is just a masterclass of visual storytelling, right? But like, also there's the fact that I'm not even sure she's trying to fall in love with him. I think there's a strain in this movie of, like, he wants to get to New York, to the big city. She wants to get to New York. She actually says to him, like, maybe I'll run into you in New York, and maybe you'll take me out for a big night on the town, like whatever. I'm not sure these two reptiles can fall in love with anyone, right? They are scorpions, right? They're pretty vicious people, but it's like undoubtedly to me, and this is one of the things that is remarkable, is that he fucked her, right? Like,
right.
That when he grabs her hair,
it is definitely implied.
It's 100%. It's 100% that he did, right? And that her husband is trapped in the collapsed mountain, right? So these aren't people who love to me.
He is her ticket out. And the thing is, she's beginning to, seems like she's falling for him, but it's not. It becomes kind of obsessive behavior on her part because all of a sudden she's realizing that whatever she has to offer is not of any interest to somebody. And that somehow becomes a point of attraction, which is, dude, again, he's written awful characters for this movie, for this great,
right.
It's a phenomenal movie, but nobody is fully likable here.
It fascinates me, the likability thing, right? Because I feel like Herbie could be likable. I feel like Boots, the Albuquerque publisher, could be likable. Yes, but he appears at the beginning and at the end. You know, it's right. Of course, the major characters aren't, but I feel like there are likable characters in there. They're just also compromised by how awful the world they're in is as well.
I would say Leo is likable. I personally
100%.
like Leo.
I agree.
I think he's an idiot. I think he's an absolute idiot trying to find like his fortune again to escape his humdrum. He gets Lorraine by saying to Lorraine, we can go out to this desert place, we can make our fortune, and then we can move on because there's a shop there, we'll work at the shop, we'll get the money, we'll move on. And it's not the dream. It doesn't work out. So that's why he's constantly looking for treasure in this cave.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if I find this like one antique pot, that's like an easy grand that we can then go on wherever. But I think he's just an idiot. You know, that he's that guy who's...
Is it simple? Is it simpleton? Maybe that's the way I don't want to say simple man, but...
yeah, he's a simple man, but he's also like, you know, I'm not gonna be an accountant. When I get to wherever I get to, I best already have money in my pocket because I'm not gonna really do anything else but be like a blue collar worker. So he, and so what I mean by he's an idiot is that he has these like tomfoolery ideas of he's going to get rich quick and he's just going to get rich and then they can move on. But I think he's like all the conversations he has with Tatum, with anybody who comes into the cave, then he's not blaming anyone.
No. However, remember how he got himself into this predicament. He's a grave robber.
Yeah. Well, antique.
What do you mean? Well, then he gets guilty about it afterwards. He desecrates a place.
Do we call Indiana Jones a grave robber? I mean,
well, hold on. He's definitely a grave robber because he dies thinking that the spirits of the mountain killed him, that they won't let him go. Like he takes responsibility for it. Right?
After though, anyway.
Sure, but
I'm not trying to shit on Leo, all right? I'm not going to fucking...
He himself thinks he's a grave robber.
I can see Umba's point, which is, you know, especially after going down the Billy Wilder, let's say the I hate Hollywood or Westernism America, that yes, these three films, and it's going to be hard to discuss this film without thinking what came before and what came after, but these three films are definitely it's not all good in the West.
Yes. But they are a trilogy. They feel like a trilogy somehow. Are you talking about Sunset Boulevard, Ace and Stalag, right?
Yep,
Stalag. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah. You heard it here first. To anyone listening to this,
if you want all three of us to do a commentary on each film, we're more than happy.
There you go. Criterion, Eureka, Madman, Harrow. If you're gonna release this box set. Release this box set. Anyway, without faces on the back cover of each one of them.
Since trilogy is a good segue for this movie is drenched in and obsessed with math. And it's got more fucking math in it than the movie A Beautiful Mind.
Are you talking about math because we're in Albuquerque, or are you talking about
math? Mathematics, buddy.
I'm sorry, I had to throw a Breaking Bad joke in there, right?
Right. But let me run a couple things by you just to see what you guys think of the math of this, right? So the curse that is the story that Tatum is telling here. Remember, the two stories are, we've got a guy trapped, but he's also in a cursed mountain, right? And it's the mountain of the 7 vultures. So what do vultures do? The vultures wait for you to die, right? So are there 7 vultures who are benefiting from Leo? Well, let's count them out. Tatum, Lorraine, Herbie, the sheriff, Smollett, Nagel, and Boot. That's 7, right?
There's that. And also his plan was to have him in there for 7 days. He dies on the 6th.
His plan was to have him in there for 7 days. And on this rewatch, I had never noticed this before. When Tatum, the 2 times we see the tent of reporters that Tatum has managed to freeze out with his corrupt deal with the sheriff, right? Watch the scene again, because every time they go into the tent, there are 7 reporters.
No
right?
way.
So this curse of the 7 vultures thing is kind of blowing my mind, but it's just the start of the math, because I would just love to read the script of this, because the numbers are out of hand. There's the story he tells about the 50 rattlesnakes or the 1,000 rattlesnakes going down to 50, going down to 10, going down to 1. There's the circulation numbers for the newspapers he works on. There's the salary math when he first meets Boot in the beginning, and he's like, you want to make $200? I'm a $250 newspaper man. You can have me for $50, right? There's the unbelievably dark joke in the movie of the admittance fee on the sign.
Yes.
As the place gets more and more popular, going from free to 25 cents to 50 cents to $1, right? There's the math of the drill. We're like 100 feet away. We're 50 feet away. We're 10 feet away, right? The entire movie is based on numbers, but it's very hard to catch because it's so emotional and so like dark, and there's like plot twists, so it's easy to miss. But there's got to be some kind of connection between fate and the numbers and the capitalist critique that's going on in this movie, right? Because when I rewatched it, I was like watching the subtitles and making a note to myself every time I saw a number, and it was like every 90 seconds, which is blowing my mind.
Well, do you think that that's driving home the point of what the movie is doing, which is it's basically summing down, it's basically saying, it's a human interest story. And what is it about human interest?
Are you quoting him? You're quoting him. Human interest story. The human interest story.
Seriously.
It's human interest, man. It's human interest.
There's so much I want to take out of this film and kind of put on like, posters around my house as like inspirational, but the opposite of inspiration, like to keep me down, to keep me grounded. But do you think that the whole point of this film is to basically, because he says something along the lines of like, look, when you've got 50 to 100 people who are stuck in a tragedy, nobody cares.
Yes.
When you've got one person,
not enough focus on the story. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And do you think that's it? It actually purposely starts blowing out numbers at you, or like changing numbers around you, because it's trying to prove to you that at the end of the day, even when it's a human interest story, when it's trying to bring in readers sort of story, and they're trying to show empathy, there's nothing about empathy. It's about circulation numbers. It's about who can you sell to and how much can you sell it to.
And I think you're exactly right. I think it's a juxtaposition between the human part of it and the inhumanity of just reckoning things up and counting them. I mean, Billy Wilder lost family in the Holocaust, right? So he knows how deadly the quotas and the numbers can be. And to have the number thing always bouncing against the few times in the movie where someone's trying to be authentically human, like the father, Leo's father, just quietly going around bringing refreshments to the workers and just being super nice and sweet and really quiet to people, there's no math to him at all. right? Like I watched, he never said a number. The people in the movie that are the most humanistic, the most sympathetic, that math isn't their thing. The people in the movie that are evil, let's say, are the math. They're constantly spouting math, right?
There is actually a conversation between Lorraine and Mr. Minoza, the father, Leo's father, how she's trying to convince him that this is the way it should go. I mean, the movie goes out of its way of showing you the increasingly rising profits that the situation and the revenue the situation is generating. There's a sign at the entrance of the mine at the beginning of the movie. It's free. And our protagonist goes out of its way to point out to her, it's like, yeah, go in there. It's free to enter. And then later on, it's 25 cents to enter. And then later on, it's 50 cents to enter. Yeah. And towards the end of the movie, it's $1 to enter.
It's a real slap in the face. It's a great line reading. When Herbie comes back from getting supplies or whatever he was doing and he drives back in and the sign has changed from free to 25 cents, he tries to just drive through, and the guy that collects the money, the toll taker, he's like 2 bits. He's like 2 bits. And Herbie's like, no, the press doesn't pay. And he says, Mrs. Mendoza says, everybody pays, right? Yeah. Like she has moved so quickly on the profit angle of this situation.
So there's mainly 3 or 4 relationships that show like a chain of manipulation. We have Lorraine manipulating Leo. Then we have Chuck Tatum manipulating Leo, then therefore everybody else. These relationships are like the up-close version of what this movie is about. Because there's actually a shot in this movie which is fantastic. We're on the top of the mountain. It's like the scope of the movie. All of a sudden it's like, how much money did this cost? It's basically they're on top of the mountain drilling, and the camera, it's like one continuous take. I think it's about 40, 50 seconds. And it just opens up on the sprawling nature of what's happening below the mountain. There's a ton of extras. And I loved it. I loved it. With even an age in which now we're going back to, with movies like The Odyssey or whatever, when everything is practical, you want to see people, you want to see bodies on the screen, you want to get the feeling that this is a real place, that this. And you get that in this movie. The scope is insane at one point. And as you look at it, it's like the movie all of a sudden gives you an overview of what's to come. And the manipulation switches from individual, all the players, to the public. And this is what this movie is about. This is how you sold this movie to me. When you brought it to me, then I brought it to Ricky. You did say, this is one of the greatest movies. And then you stopped yourself. You did say, this movie is about media manipulation. And and then you were the very person that told me not to watch any trailers or read about it, which I never do. And to reconnect to what we were saying at the beginning of this podcast, why this movie failed. This movie failed because this is before the internet, before social media. Critics ruled. It wasn't even word of mouth. If a critic slated a movie and they had enough weight, that's why people like Etta Hopper or whatever had so much stock in Hollywood, because their word mattered. That's how a movie was sold, right? So if you are shitting on the very body of control, of governance over this element of the movie industry, you're done. And that is the point that Billy Wilder was making with this movie.
Yeah, and it's such an honor to honestly to Billy Wilder. Like, it's just an amazing. He gets so much credit because I forget this guy's name. I always say it wrong because I hate this guy. But there was like some film critic of the day. His name is like Barney Crowther or something like it, Bosley Crowther or something like that. And he was really influential. He was like a gatekeeper kind of personality. And he gave a savage review of this movie. And he said that this movie was like some kind of phantasmagoric nightmare that Billy Wilder was having. He's like, what is Billy Wilder thinking? Like in what world would a reporter manipulate a story like this and get away with it? And none of the other reporters would stop him or report him. And no one would. And the thing is that Billy Wilder was just 30 years ahead of his time, right? Like he was having a nightmare about where things were headed, right? And like the critics were like, this doesn't feel realistic. And Billy Wilder's like, well, hold my beer because it's going to be realistic down the road, right? It's just not particularly realistic now, but he was having a nightmare about where the trend lines were heading, and he was 100% accurate about it.
I read the Variety review from the time, and I also read the New York Times review from the time, and it comes down to what we talked about earlier, which is this was around the period of coming out of the Depression, or at least some of America came out of the Great Depression, and there was still a lot of America that was still in it. And so a lot of the reviews were just sort of like, this is too dark. This is not anyone's cup of tea. It's just too dark and too cynical.
They were selling the dream, dude. They were selling the nuclear family. They were selling like a better tomorrow. This didn't fit the bill.
How a year earlier, everybody was praising Sunset Boulevard, and that's an equally dark, satirical, cynical film, but it's about Hollywood.
The take is on the past, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sunset Boulevard is cynical about starlets from the silent era, where Singing in the Rain was saying like, here's the silent era, here's the talkies, and everybody just moved on, and somehow it all worked out for everyone apart from that one I can't stand it actress. She can just go.
No, Miss Lamont, round tones, round tones. Now let me hear you read your line.
And I can't stand him.
And I can't stand him.
And I can't stand him.
Can't.
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 Can't. Very good. Now.
Sunset Boulevard was basically saying, like, look at these old stars who can't fit in the new. Look at the old houses they have that can't fit in the new. Look how much waste was going on before the Great Depression, and now look at them suffer. And a lot of people were like, oh, this is great popcorn, oh, I love this movie, oh, all that. This film doesn't do that. This film goes, look at yourself, look at the way you consume media, look at the way you will turn a tragedy into the biggest story, and then when it ends tragically and you don't have your Hollywood ending, then it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We move on. Everybody just moves on and leaves the town desolate.
Everyone exiting a scene is literally 3 minutes of no dialogue. It's just the tents getting taken down, the cars pulling away, the people trying to hitchhike out of there. It's really kind of eerie. It's almost like a horror movie segment because it's it's creepy how everyone just departs, right?
True.
And leaves the poor father walking around like in a wasteland next to the sign saying that this is all about Leo, which it wasn't clearly all about Leo.
There's a lot of flagellation in it, as in self-inflicted, like cat o' nine tails kind of thing from Billy Wilder. I would like to know what he was going through at the time, because the entire sequence on the sixth day, there are religious undertones, both from, like a Jewish background to something more relatable to the majority of the United States, which was mainly Christian. Because when he gets to the top of the mountain, that reminded me of John Huston piece. It feels biblical, or like something out of the Torah.
Yeah, you could also liken it to when Moses comes down from Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, but it's the first time where he comes down and he sees the squalor and he breaks everything and he's like, I've got to go back up now. And then walks away.
The roads are are the dustiest, the winds are the gustiest, the gates are the rustiest, the pies are the crustiest, the songs the lustiest, the friends the trustiest, way back home. Back home. The trees are the sappiest, the days are the nappiest, the dogs are the yappiest, the kids.
It's really interesting how his characters are hyper aggressive, but also super passive. When you watch this movie, Tatum's a really powerful guy. He's very confident. He's very make it happen. But there's so many times where he's being driven places by other people. He's leaning on Herbie at the end because he's wounded. He's laying down in the car when he's being driven around. Like and obviously in Sunset Boulevard, William Holden's character is like, mysteriously trapped in a house, be it by a woman, right? Like they're powerful personalities, but there's this strange inability to free themselves from a trap that is fascinating. I have no idea what it means. It's like being in a nightmare. It's very strange.
It's funny that the only time he drives himself is to get the priest.
Oh, he's scrambling for redemption at this stage.
Yeah.
He knows he's dying and he's not going to a doctor. It's the first kind of self-sacrificial move he makes because he's not getting medical attention from himself because he knows Leo's running out of time and he knows the priest is important to Leo. So he drives over there. I'm so glad you pointed that out. And it always has made me wonder and mystifies me because nothing is by accident with someone as great as Billy Wilder. When he gets there, he parks the car and runs in to get the priest. And we see a gaggle of kids come and jump in the police car and start fucking with it. And then they like hit the siren and scare themselves and run away. And it's just a really weird moment. Like it's a weird touch in the movie. And it almost made me feel like Billy Wilder was saying all the characters in this movie are all like children. Tatum showed up. There was a guy trapped in the mountain. He was like, oh, let's see what this is about. All right. Well, now let's fuck with this situation and see what happens. And I'm sure I'll be able to control the situation. And I'm sure I won't hit the wrong button. And I'm sure I won't make a siren go off. like they're all children. They're morally children for sure. But they're not even like good at manipulating situations.
Well, I thought that scene was there for a different reason.
Okay.
Very possible. Very possible.
This is the moment in the movie in which the tone changes. All of a sudden, it's a better world, and we have someone scrambling to be a part of it. But their time is running out. So to have the children all of a sudden going towards an unlocked car, something you will never do in the city, or in some parts of the city. But all of a sudden you have these kids playing with it. And when the siren goes off, nobody tries to steal the car. It's like a more simpler, it's the world where Leo Minosa and his family live.
That's
it's a simpler world.
Yeah.
That's I think, we see him scramble through this world. As in, he's just trying to do better, but it's too fucking late. It's too late. I think that's his scrambling. Our protagonist is an alcoholic. It's touched on. And there's a moment in which, and it's almost like a surreal Bergman sequence, like a sequence out of a Bergman movie, because the character in question is played by Portoroll. He plays Mr. Boot, right? Mm-hmm. In this movie, when he appears in the real world. He feels like a very real person, like a very grounded figure in the movie. But when he appears later in this movie, he appears like a ghost out of a Dickens novel. When he appears. And he appears, he does. It's like, but he appears right after Chuck picks up a drink. It's the moment in which the bottle's been there, it's in the room. Yes. He picks up a drink, he turns around, and all of a sudden fucking Mr. Boot appears like,
Mr. Boots. Mr. Boots there like Santa Claus Nosferatu. And if you look behind him, the cross in that room is right over his shoulder, right?
But yeah, so the lighting is all weird as well. It's like he's on a skateboard or something as he moves forward.
Right. It's very creepy. It's almost like Christmas Carol-y, but darker, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It certainly makes an entrance, man. I was waiting for him to go, woo! Where's my story?
I said no drinking in the office.
A buzzard took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzer tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of diving?"
The fact that Boot is above any sort of manipulation our protagonist can exert on him, right? Because he's morally grounded. There is it's called a sampler. I had to look it up. It's not cross-stitching, it's needlework. There's this thing on the wall. We see it at the beginning of the movie. And again, it seems like that as the viewer, when something is emphatically present enough, our protagonist will point it out for us. And he does. Because that's what Mr. Boot and his paper, that's what it stands for. It stands for the truth. And this thing just says, tell the truth.
Here's the thing, because there's two of those cross stitchings on the wall. There's one in Boot's actual office and there's one outside his office. And Tatum makes fun of it, right? Like in the beginning of the movie, he goes, "Who said that?" And she goes, "Mr. Boot said it." But she's like, I did the needlework, but he said it, right? And Tatum goes, "I wish I could coin them like that." Right. but that's sarcastic because tell the truth is not deep. It's not like a profound
but it is ironic to have it in the editing room of a newspaper.
At the end of the movie, he's going to die right underneath it. Right. So it's clear that there's a power to the tell the truth thing. I think the movie judges Mr. Boot as too simple. As a person who there's no excitement in his world, there's no chance taking in his world. There's like Tatum manages to woo Herbie away from Boot, and he has a great scene. Kirk Douglas, amazing dialogue in this scene when Boot walks in doing his Nosferatu thing, and he turns to Herbie and says, "All right, well, Tatum's quit, so let's go. Pack your things. We're going back to Albuquerque." And Tatum's like, "He's not going with you. He wants to live. He wants to get out in the world. He wants to make things happen. Like, he doesn't want to be prematurely 55 years old and covering rattlesnake hunts in fucking tiny cities."
Yeah, but Boot's reaction is not really passive. He dismisses him he says something to him like, "What? It's the equivalent of whatever, man."
Yeah. No, Boot's a very powerful guy. He's very powerful.
He is.
What I'm telling you is I think this movie spared no single character from judgment. I think it has separate judgments for separate characters, and every character is put in the scale and every character is found wanting. There's no character that wins in this movie, right? Like the mom and the dad with their quiet prayers, they seem like they would be role models. But if you think about what's deeply happening in this movie, the father never went in to visit his son once when he was trapped. Not one time. He was not brave enough to break the rule and go in and see his own trapped son. Right? They're too much of rule followers, the parents are, right? And if you go through every single character, no matter how noble or innocent or whatever, Mr. Boot is clearly the example. Herbie, he's a nice guy, but he gets all caught up in everything. He's like, they want to put me in Life magazine. They want to do photo shoots for me. Every character in this movie fails the test. That's all I'm saying. What I'm telling you is that tell the truth thing is nice. It's a nice thing on the wall, but it's not enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, it does. It does.
Because I was going to say, in Boot's defense, if you're standing there and somebody pulls out cocaine and sets up a line and says, "Herbie doesn't want to go with you," what you're going to be like, I'm going to lose this battle. And that's pretty much what's happening. It's like, do you want this line? Do you want this line? Because Mr. Boot don't want this line. Do you want this line? That's what's happening.
Can I tell you what I think of Mr. Boot and Tatum's relationship? That's why I think that Mr. Boot actually is the most powerful figure in this movie.
Yes.
As in godlike almost. And that's why when he appears at the end, he appears like conscience almost, because it's all of a sudden, it almost feels like an hallucination that our protagonist is having, which is the core of its guilt manifesting. But the way I saw him so powerful, virtuous as well. The meeting that I have at the beginning, you can see that Mr. Boot has worked out who this guy is within seconds. And he's being dismissive there's not a ounce of malice. That's godlike. That's the height of virtue if you can do stuff like that, right? But it's not, instead of get the fuck out of my office. It's not even that.
No.
this character comes across as a paragon for all these positive virtues in this world, or in this movie at least. And there's a moment in which he goes from being on the verge of reprehending an employee to, that's amusing. Here's your reward, another. Just like when he hired him. So there's a charitable side to him, but without pity. Again, more virtue. That's all I get from Boot, right? I don't know. He handles him in a particular way, in a very particular way that is not really human. And that's why it is more of an idea at the end of the movie when he appears.
It's very creepy, his final appearance, because he's not in his office. When Tatum's dying, when he's staggering around, it's a smash cut over to where Boot's standing. He's standing over by the printing of the paper, and there's two guys behind him. And he looks intimidating. Like, he looks powerful. Boot has power. He's also a very smart guy. Like, he's low key. He's not dumber than Tatum, right? Like, they're worthy adversaries. There's a great moment in that first exchange when they meet, when Tatum goes, when he's listing the things that he's done bad or wrong or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, now I find myself in Albuquerque with burned out bearing and bad tires, and I'm broke and I have a bad reputation.
Oh, bad tires are dangerous.
It's fucking great.
That's a very Billy Wilder line, by the way.
Right, it is. But the amount of wit you'd have to do that. And Boot's like, he's like, what did you get fired for? And Tatum's like, in Chicago, I tried to have an affair with the publisher's wife. And Boot's like, well, I should tell you, my wife's a grandmother 3 times over. So if you make moves on her, she's going to love it. Right?
That's when the movie's funny. It's very funny. But to go back to what happens after him reprehending him about whatever, he goes, you know what? Because he basically heard his door, by the way, in that entire sequence is open, the door of the office, so he can hear what's happening in the press room. And this is right before, like, one of the many, many, many tirades that Chuck, we all worked with somebody like that, or just fucking complaining, and it gets to a point in which it's so repetitive that it doesn't become a litany of annoyance to the people that you're with, because that's you. There's a level of acceptance. They let him do it to the point in which when he gets, this is prior to him coming out of the office, when he gets to Herb says to him, it's one of my favorite lines out of this movie, so I get to read it. Herbie goes, is this one of your long playing records, Chuck? Let's hear the other side. It's fantastic, man.
So good. It's so
As in, he's been doing this over and over, because it says I think the movie states that it's been a month and a half from the moment it's been hired or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's writing on the screen or if someone says it or if it's a voiceover.
Someone says it. Yeah.
Yeah. But how does that exchange end with the semi-empty bottle of whiskey with the ship inside? Mr. Boot gives him a fucking Mickey Mouse job.
No. I took it a totally different way, because he says to him, like, what Kirk Douglas says is, I'm making these ship bottles one a night because it calms my nerves. And he does like a shaky, like, jokey thing. And Boot smiles at the joke and says, you know what? Maybe you do need a change. Let me get you out of the office. I think he's trying to do him a favor. There's nowhere interesting in Albuquerque to send him, but at least he's getting him out of the office.
And again, even if you say that he's getting him out of the office, because he seems like kind of a toxic presence in the office, he's not even doing it because he wants him out of there. You said it. He does it because it's like, you know what, man? Go out there.
I sell the morning paper, sir. My name is Jimmy Brown. Everybody knows that I'm a newsboy of the town. You can hear me yelling Morning Star running along the street. Got no hat up on my head, no shoes up on my feet.
Just real quick, I just want to tell you one thing that I think is really key to this movie that ties exactly into what you're saying is the fact that almost everyone in this movie is not only just bad at their job, they don't even have the job they pretend to have, right? Like Smollett is the engineer, but at one point in the movie, they're like, you were a truck driver.
Yeah, dude.
The sheriff isn't enforcing the sheriff isn't enforcing the law. Leo's not a good entrepreneur with his business, right? Like everyone is bad at their job except for Boot. Boot is good at all of his jobs. He's good at being a lawyer. He's good at being a publisher. He's good at being a boss. He's good at being a mentor. Like he's good at everything. And there's a power in this movie to being good at your job, where almost all the other characters are not good at their job. And it fascinates me, endlessly fascinates me, that when we listen to the words that Tatum writes, they're not journalism. They're almost poetry, right? Like every time we get a newspaper delivery or an article and Leo's wife is like, or Lorraine's like, you know, oh, you wrote me up so pretty. The blonde, the fair-haired, platinum-haired, you know, woman tried to fight her way into the dark cave. Like this is not reporting. This is embellishing, right?
No, he's romanticizing the shit out of the story. Yeah.
He's romanticizing the shit out of the story because he's trying to sell it. But check this out, because it gives me chills every time I watch this movie. When Leo dies, and Tatum goes up on the lift and goes to do the speech with the microphone, it's the only good journalism he does the entire movie. Yes. He reports it like you would write a newspaper article. He just says, Leo Minosa is dead. He died a quarter of an hour ago. The drill was 10 feet away from him.
Leo Minosa is dead. He died a quarter of an hour ago, with a drill just 10 feet away. There's nothing we can do anymore. There's nothing anybody can do. He's dead, do you hear me? Now go on home, all of you. The circus is over.
It's the only time in the movie he journalisms.
He tells the truth.
He tells the truth. It's the only time in the movie where he's good at the job he's supposed to be doing. But I think a lot of Boot's power is that he's good at the jobs. And I think Billy Wilder respects that because he's fucking good at his job, right? Like all his jobs. He's good at writing the movie. He's good at directing the movie, right? Like, so he obviously respects Boot. I just don't think that he thinks Boot is the answer to the problems of the movie. Is all I think.
Myself and Ricky have this rule. We mentioned it to our listeners before. You've heard about it before, which is we are not to talk about the movie before recording. It's hard to enforce. So we didn't really talk about it, but in preparation, we discussed a couple of things and Ricky goes, you know, this was quoted in The Simpsons as well. I was like, I remember, and today I rewatched that episode, which for our listeners, it's an episode of The Simpsons called Radio Bart. It's season 3. Episode 13. But before we talk about it, there is a character here, which you just mentioned, George, which is Sheriff Kretzer, right? Mate.
Him and Chief Wiggum.
Dude, he is a fucking Simpson character. The way he's introduced, how there's a cake box with a rattlesnake in it. The only moment we see this guy doing something that somehow has solved the problem is when he finds what the snake will eat. It's like, later on in the movie. He's feeding wrappers. He's feeding chewing gum with the wrapper on to the snake.
And by the way, don't think that that's not a metaphor, right? Like this movie is about this reporter and this radio guy and all the reporters around him feeding the public crap, junk food journalism, bullshit words that don't mean anything. And this snake is turning down, the snake in Kretzer's box is turning down steak. He's turning down hamburger. He's turning down milk. The only thing he wants is foil wrapped chewing gum.
The shiny thing, right? He's eating the shiny thing.
He wants the shiny thing of no nutritional value. And that, trust me, that's not accidental.
I recasted this movie. You know, we did this before, by the way, together, I think. I at one point, I started obsessing over trying to recast this movie, and then I stopped on one, and I went, okay, I want to do the rest. At the beginning of the movie, I couldn't stop. For the first 10 minutes, I couldn't stop thinking about Nightcrawler, as in someone with no scruples, just trying to get a story and do anything to make that story. But this movie's been massively inspirational.
This movie has a lot to do with Nightcrawler. I think to Ace in the Hole's credit, there's nothing that Nightcrawler says about the manipulation of how stories are presented to the public that
Absolutely.
Ace in the Hole didn't anticipate, right? That's
Absolutely.
And that's kind of amazing because Tony Gilroy is like one of our best storytellers of now. And the fact that he couldn't come up with anything in Nightcrawler that Ace in the Hole hadn't already said is just more to the credit of Ace in the Hole.
In regards to recasting or doing a fantasy recast of this movie, there's one character that I recasted immediately, and I don't know why I went there, but Sheriff Kretzer in my head can only be played by Billy Bob Thornton. I would have placed him in there. I don't know why.
Good. That's
It just barged into my head and I couldn't shake it. I couldn't shake it all the way through the movie.
The one thing that truly got me about this movie was the absolute vile hatred that everybody has for everyone else. There is not a single moment where you feel like Charles Tatum actually respects a single person that he comes to contact with. And the scene that really cements that for me is the person who just is talking to the press, talking to the radio and saying, well, when we had an incident like this couple of years ago, I don't know why you're coming from the top because we could easily come in through the side. And he stands there and he listens to it and he gives the odd side glance saying like, oh, the jig is up. Something might come of this. And then he finally just goes, so was everybody safe and sound after that? It's like, no, we lost quite a lot of men to that. And it's like, that's exactly why we're leaving it up to this guy. So again, he's got that like one-upmanship again over everyone else. And that's, I think, the general attitude in this film is that a lot of people thinking they've got the one-up. Even the sheriff, when he first sees Charles Tatum, he acts like he's got the one-up because he's just come back from a lovely dinner and he was hanging out with the boys and he's going to be elected as mayor of another town, which is why he was over there and not actually here. And he just, and it's the deputy even early on in the film goes like, oh, he's never here. And Lorraine goes, yeah, he comes like once every month and he doesn't pay the bill and he just goes. Even the sheriff, thinks that he's got one up on everybody else. He thinks that everyone's going to vote for me. I'm going to leave this town and whatnot. But I do have to rescind that I said that this movie, almost every character wants to escape. Well, we've had a long conversation about Boots, and Boots doesn't want to escape. Boots has got it down. Boots knows exactly
he doesn't want to
job
escape.
is.
There's quite a few characters who don't want to escape. The thing is that this is what I was trying to kind of hint at with saying that Boot isn't the answer. So there's basically two categories of characters in this movie. There's the characters who are making things happen. And then there's the characters who are just kind of living their lives. So Leo's parents don't want to escape. They love where they live, right? They don't even want money. They're like when the circus arrives, she's like, they're paying a lot. He's like, I don't want their money. Leo's dad is like, I just want my son saved. So the parents don't want to escape. Herbie has been swayed over to the devil's side. So he definitely wants to live the high life now. So he's been converted to the escape part. Right. But like Smollett, the engineer guy, he just wants to live his life, drill some holes in some dirt, get paid.
But I would
Right.
say he wants to escape the situation. He actually, towards the end, he even says like, I didn't want to use the drill. You wanted me to use the drill.
He definitely wants to
this.
escape the situation. Yeah.
The other night I took a ride with little old Lucy Brown. We went to all the honky tonks. We really got around. She's 5'2" with eyes of blue and pretty as a queen. I didn't know her pop was a city cop, and she was just 15. Good morning, Judge. Why do you look so mean, sir? And Mr. Judge, what can the charges be? If there's been trouble, I will plead not guilty. It must be someone else. You know it can't be me.
he's always thinks he's got one up. A lot of the characters think they've got one up on everybody else, but they don't. And
No.
maybe that's why the finale is the way it is, because Tatum, who's had one up on every single character in this film, is then below everybody. Like, literally, he drops to the ground.
Oh yeah, you're right. Right at like the last shot of the movie is him like
He's below everyone.
He's at ground level.
He's
like,
below everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
you're totally right. The thing is, the storytelling is interesting because Tatum has failed so many times. It's been drilled into our head that he has been fired 11 times. He's never succeeded. So he gets one up on people for a minute. He gets the publisher's wife to sleep with him. He gets to get away with drinking and not get caught. But he inevitably blows up. And he inevitably burns down everything around him. It's just magnified in this one, right? Like he's not some master manipulator. He's a guy who wins the battle and loses the war every time, right? So the fact that he loses the war here is not going to be a surprise. The fact that he gets mortally wounded by Lorraine is interesting, right?
It feels almost like a snake bite, by the way. The way
Yes.
she stabs him.
Guys, when you rewatch it, if you didn't catch it on the first time, it's fucking amazing when he pulls the gift, the anniversary gift that she's going to hate
I love that
out.
bit.
That whole sequence is amazing. But if you watch her, he says, it's a present for you. And she's like, all right, I'll open it. I love presents, right? But she's got nothing but disdain on her face. And the way she cuts the present open is the coldest body language I think I've ever seen on the screen. She snips the ribbon off the present with the most disdain I've ever seen someone use scissors. And it also shows how fucking good she is with scissors. She's like a ninja with scissors, which is going to be important just a couple minutes later.
The whole relationship between them it's amazing, right? It's great storytelling, but it's just so weird because of course they're using each other. She's using him and whatnot. And the reason he sleeps with her is because she's getting cozy with the press. Is that the reason? Because like she's talking to the press and they're like, oh, they're going to give me a 3-part story. Well, you tell them you can't spell or what you're not able to write or whatever he says. But that's when he sleeps with her, only to have the following scene where she basically still hates his guts.
I think that's 100% right. And the way I read that moment was that it was the first time that she talked his language and she didn't fight him, right? And it was really interesting dialogue because every time that he said, you're not leaving, she's like, fuck you, I'm leaving. And he's like, you're going to wear this ratty mink. And she's like, fuck you, I'm not going to wear the mink. She's been defiant at every turn, right? But when he calls her in that scene, in that moment, he says, you know, those guys are, she's like, what are they doing? And she's like, they're trying to get me to write the story. I've got them up to 750. He's like, well, you're not going to get that 750. And she's like, I know. And he's like, you're not going to want their 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 either. And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm not thinking about their 3-part story. I'm thinking about the 4th part, you and me. So he didn't even have to fight her. He realized that she wasn't ever going to talk to these reporters. She was just kind of seeing how high she could get them to go, right? I think he sensed that she had committed to not be defiant and be fully on board with his plan. And I think he found that attractive. And because they're both scorpions by nature, they just went for it, right? Like, but that's why I think that happened.
Before we continue, I need you to do something, both of you and our listeners. Phone in hand. If you're a phone in hand, do it. So open 2 tabs. I need you to open 2 tabs on your browser. Right. And on the first tab, I want you to type Jan Sterling, all right? And bring up a picture of Jan Sterling or a series of pictures, right? And then on the second tab, I want you to type in Anna Thompson. Now, Anna Thompson, but particularly when you type in Anna Thompson, type in Anna Thompson, The Crow. And the moment you do that, or Unforgiven. She was in Unforgiven as well. She's the prostitute that gets scarred in Unforgiven.
Yeah.
I was trying to think, there's only a few photos where they really match. While I was watching the movie, I was like, what does Jan Sterling reminds me of somebody? and just the facial
Oh,
features.
shit,
I don't know if it's
look at
just me.
that.
No. You see it?
Yeah, she just came up from Unforgiven, and it looks very similar.
Do you see it? Do you see the features, facial features?
Yeah.
She's had surgery. Apparently, she doesn't look anything like she did in the 90s. But this is before the alterations, facial alterations or whatever.
Sure.
There's a lot more to add, but we had to talk about the car. I mean, our protagonist is, what is it? Is being towed into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Which, by the way, that's in Sunset Boulevard as well. Like his car is, that's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's a great entrance.
Billy Wilder must have had problems with his car throughout this period as well. For sure.
He must have had problems with studios renting him cars, because that's what it is. Like, even Charles Tatum, you've got a feeling that car's rented. It's not his car.
For sure,
Totally.
For sure. However, the car that he gets towed into the scene, into the movie, he is actually behind the wheel, but not doing anything. He's reading the paper. It's a 1946 Mercury 8 6.9 76. I want to take my own life after going through that. But that's a car. It could be black. It could be dark green. It could be whatever. It's
white. We've decided it's white.
Stop it. Anything else to add?
Oh, there is so.
I have one question. I'm just curious, because I'm always curious when people watch this movie with close attention what they think. When he's strangling her at the end, do you think if she hadn't stabbed him that he would have killed her?
I think he is at such a desperate situation that he's almost at that point where he could be. If I kill her now, am I a part of the story? Do I make the story bigger? Will the story survive beyond me? Will me going to prison be the story? He's at that end of hysteria. Really,
he's out of control. Like, he wouldn't have done it with intent, but easily could have killed her by accident.
The reason he wants him to get to 7 days is because the previous attempt to save somebody from a cave was 5 days. You know, that's the thing that's going for it. Like, he could have pulled him out 5 days and like an hour, but no, he's like, no. The story needs that 2 extra days. It needs to have that 2 extra days. And if you think about poor Leo, the second time I watched it, I was like, man. His trousers must be full of shit and piss. Like,
yeah, he's definitely in a bad way down there.
There's a meta quality to Billy Wilder as well. Like, it's a trilogy. It is a trilogy, man. Like, he roots things in the real world, so there's a meta kind of thing about it. And that's why if this foreshadowing feels even more impactful. But in this movie, we have the protagonist mentioning like the real case this movie's based on. He talks about Floyd Collins. That's the story that he tells her, and it not only, it's like characters are on the verge of breaking the fourth wall in most Billy Wilder's movies. In fact, even in Sunset Boulevard, there's moments in which he gets the actors to look at you, and here it happens as well. So some of the stuff that seems to be referential, no, he's addressing you. When he's addressing Herb, it's like, didn't you hear about, he's talking to you. It's like, did you hear about Floyd Collins? Did you hear about that story? And it seemed like, until you read it, because when I heard it, I didn't know. I didn't know about Floyd Collins. I had to go in, after the dive, I checked. I was like, oh shit, it's a real thing. It's based, even if, you do a little bit of a read up about this movie and you see that it's based on a couple of true events. Apparently it's 2 that it's based on, but it's a daring thing to do. Also, I took a note, and lately I've been doing that. We're still in a time in which the title of the movie is uttered in the movie. Do you know the timestamp?
27?
Yeah.
Well, what did you
say?
27.
What did you say?
27.
It is the 47. Are you going to start doing these as well? 47, yeah. What did you
47. Say? 47. Oh, I got it wrong. I said 27. Doesn't matter.
No,
I thought I got
it's
it right.
47 and something and change. I'll check in a moment. But it's a moment in which he drops the title of the movie.
He sure does.
He's our ace in the
He sure does. And I honestly, I don't think he was going to kill her, but I think he could have. Like, that's how I ended up on it. The darkest line he says in the entire movie is when he's strangling her with the mink. And she says, "Stop, I can't breathe." And he says, "He can't breathe either."
Yeah.
That's That's the darkest thing that he says in the movie, right? And I think he's at the brink of being homicidal, but I don't think he would have killed Leo's wife, because I think he's becoming more sympathetic to Leo as the movie progresses, obviously.
I think that's why he turns so savage towards her, is because it suddenly hits him how little about Leo this is about, to an extent that the person that's married to Leo stopped thinking about Leo within 5 minutes of him being an idiot and getting himself trapped in a cave. That's what she's thinking. Like she's like, oh, I've got him cigars and stuff, but you know what? He's not going to make it out, and this is my time to jump on a bus and get out.
There are also like demented waves of moralism that he's experiencing, that he's using to justify the way he treats her. Because every time it's like, oh, this is your husband. It's like, oh, what the fuck? You're unfaithful, right? But you're a piece of shit. Like, so what? You know what I mean?
Well, it's down to that scene where she's like, I can't help but smile. And he just slaps her twice. And it's like, good, keep those tears. That's what you're meant to look like.
It was another time, you see?
It was a time, different time.
I took a little trip to my hometown. I only stopped just to look around. And as I walked along the thoroughfare, there was music playing everywhere. The music came from within my heart.
And we'd be remiss to not mention her exit, because her exit from the movie is absolutely amazing. When he announces that Leo's dead, it cuts to her in the room with the mink on the chair, and she just walks out. She just walks out of the movie. Like, not a word, not a last line, she just leaves. And it's just so cool.
4751. That was the time.
4751. There it is.
He says, here we got an ace in the hole. There you go. I started doing this every time I watch a movie that's like without fail.
Kretzer says to him, Kretzer goes, I was playing cards when you called me with all this trouble. And Tatum's like, would you have a pair of deuces?
Yeah.
He's like, because here we have an ace in the hole.
I think it's ratings times.
I believe it's ratings times.
Okay, so I am rating this Ace in the Hole 9.5 out of 10. I feel like you could find enough flaws in it to put it in the 9, high 8 region, but I'm scared to death of Billy Wilder. Like, he was so ahead of his time with this movie. I'm afraid that if I gave it a lower rating, I would watch it tomorrow and find something else in it that made it a 9.5. So I'm just going to respect the terror I have for Billy Wilder and go with 9.5, because this movie is getting better with each passing year. And the thing is, it's easier, I think, in a way, to do prophetic, predictive movies like Cronenberg did with Videodrome, or like John Carpenter did with They Live, if you're world building, right? Like if you have the ability to do fantasy and science fiction, and so you can build these metaphors that are going to play out later, and that's not easy. Like, it's hard to make truly predictive movies, but they can play outside the lines of the sandbox. What Billy Wilder did was he made a movie ostensibly about journalism that ended up being about not just America losing all of its idealism and morals, which was going to come true if it hadn't already been true when he made it. But he also made a movie that was kind of predict how everyone was going to get addicted to consuming the exact kind of violent entertainment that was going to reduce them to being rattlesnakes in boxes chewing on gum, right? So it's just an amazing achievement to do a predictive movie grounded in a real recognizable world and have the predictions come true and the movie be underestimated. And to pull all that off, I just feel like merits, even if there's a couple scenes of choppy acting or a couple points where people would be like, you know, I heard that damn song one too many times. By the way, guys, I have a cat named Leo, and he freaks out every time I watch this movie and they play the Leo, "We're Coming for You" song. like he's starting to stare at the TV and creep me out every time I put Ace in the Hole on. So, all right. So I think it deserves a 9.5, and my unit of measurement for this is I'm giving it 9.5 chopped chicken livers out of 10.
Well, this has been a journey this week. I originally came into this thinking that I was going to give this a high 7, a low 8, but then I watched it again this morning, and the more and more I experience Billy Wilder, the more and more I am enamored by the fact that he was doing all the right shots. He was placing the camera in all the right places. The crane shots are crazy in the third act of this movie, where you're looking over the carnival, where you're looking over the drill. There's even a sound mix where you're listening to the song and you're hearing the big wheel and people cheering on the big wheel, and then slowly the drone of the drill just slightly comes in. This film is a masterclass. There's no, so for me to give it anything below a 9 would be ridiculous, because this film should be, and I cannot believe it wasn't, but it should be the sort of film that gets analyzed by every single film degree, every single film student, everyone should just watch this film. I have given this a 9.5. No, I haven't. George gave it a 9.5. I gave it a 9.4. I really think that this deserves, and thank God that we are now 75 years away from this film, because the longer you have from when this film was released to now, the more critics have reevaluated this film and they have given it high praise. This should be on the same level as Stalag 17. This should be on the same level as The Apartment. This should be on the same level as Sunset Boulevard. And that's really hard for me to say, because nothing beats Sunset Boulevard. But this should be up there. So I've given it a 9.4. A 9.4 musical score sheets for Saving Leo.
Okay. Right. So I have just changed my score based on your deliberations, which is breaking convention and it's breaking Screendiver rules, but we've done it once or twice before. So originally I gave it an 8.7, but then you said something, Ricky, in particular, which kind of touched the nerve, and that is I couldn't bring myself to give this movie anything below a 9. So I brought it up to a 9.1 because I agree with you. I felt it. When you said it, I felt it. So as much as I don't want to be a contrarian, that's why it was on 8.7. No, my justification is because you sent us on a world of revisitations in the world of Billy Wilder. I had to go there again, and I watched this on the back of Sunset Boulevard. And Sunset Boulevard is in the high 9s because I cannot give a 10 to anything. So it's a 9.8 in my book. Okay. I can read it now before we ever decide to do it. But it is definitely a trilogy. We didn't fully agree on it, but there's the similarities between these three pieces. However, why is it a 9.1? Because actually, it's sandwiched in my rankings of this pseudo-trilogy. Sunset Boulevard is at the top, this is in the middle, and Stalag is below it. And the reason why the other two are below it are not because they're inferior movies in any way, shape, or form. Masterful, poignant, impactful, loads of foreshadowing, loads of insight, wit at times that it's legendary. However, the tone, out of the three, this is the grimmest. This is grim, grim, grim. You don't have to look at it twice. Like every time you glance in that direction, it gets darker and darker. It is an indictment of a world that was shifting from pure propaganda into sensationalism. That's the way I saw it. You know, just the media started operating differently because the means of distributing media was changing. So it's a world on the threshold, you know, and this movie was going against that mold or pointing the finger at it. And a lot of people that were embracing this change didn't like it. Hence the critics slating this movie. But I've never seen it. And until this time, I again, one of the greatest gifts you could have given us. I truly enjoyed it. It's heavy. In fact, the second viewing, as rewarding as it was, it just nailed the point through even further. So, and because of the times we live in, the misinformation and the way it spreads, the masses respond to the sensationalism that it's still ongoing. It's much worse now. Not only like the importance of something that, as soon as it's over, it's a flash in the pan. Like you said, the entire shot of the crowds leaving all of a sudden, just leaving, disappointed, going back to whatever life they were leading is grim, very grim. Because all of a sudden, all this emphatic importance behind what's happening just fades away in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, you see the family when they're leaving and packing up, the mom bursts into tears, and she looks like she's been hit in the gut. And it's tough. It's tough to watch.
And she is the only person in the film that shows the correct emotion at the correct time. There's nobody else who bursts into tears at that moment. And
I'm
she's
so glad
hit
you
in the
said
gut.
that because she
gets hit in the gut more than the dad does, more than Lorraine does. There is not a single other character that reacts in the right way.
Anyway, it's over. If you haven't seen this movie, go see it. And on that note, this was Umba.
This is Ricky.
This is George. Wait. Hold on. He didn't break any rule. That bottle had no alcohol in it.
No, it did. It was almost down to the bottom. But the thing, it was down to the bottom enough. I watched this morning. Go back to it. I watched it this morning. There's a little bit of liquid left in the bottom.
I'm so sorry. You're wrong. There's no. It's a ship in a bottle. He was making a ship. Boot even laughs about it.
There is alcohol at the bottom of the bottle, man. You know what? I'm gonna take a screenshot. Stop it. You're not doing this here.
A boy would sit and fish and dream when he should have been in school. Now he couldn't read or write a word, but happiness he found in a little song he heard, and here's how it would sound. Hutsut Rawson on a rill-a-raw and a brawl a suet. Hutsut Rawson on a rill-a-raw and a brawl a suet. Hutsut Rawson on a rill-a-raw and a brawl a suet. Hutsut Rawson on a rill-a-raw and a brawl a suet.
I might have given it 9.5 pickles out of 10, but I'm going with chopped chicken livers. Wait, where'd Umba go?
Twice in a row.
That's so funny because I already read that. And so, and I didn't verbalize it, but mate, your reaction was priceless.
Say it again, because I fuck. Oh, okay, I'll just silence it. Don't worry, I'll silence my outburst. Fucking hell.